Greetings to everyone world over. Green morning, green afternoon, and green evening, wherever you are world over. And we hope you're taking care of your wellness and you're taking care of your health. You're in proper order, and the world is a beautiful place to perform your role the best possible way. So, all of us, ladies and gentlemen, once again, reunite, rejuvenate, all of us together on Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. And then, of course, you are in different parts of the world. Our distinguished speaker, distinguished guest of the evening, she's also joining us from United States. So it's an early morning over there in America. And people, those are joining us from Europe, of course, it's an afternoon. And people, those are from Southeast Asia, it's a late evening, little ahead of Indian timings. So welcome to everyone, wherever you are world over. Just a little while before, at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we had a wonderful deliberations on global wellness and health tourism through Ayurveda. Vishwa Kalyan ke liye, how Ayurveda can support and they can help. If you recall, last week, last Sunday, while extending a warm welcome to Madam this morning from the United States, we wish to recall, Vanakkam ma'am, Vanakkam. We wish to recall, Madam had discussed last time when she was talking about that almost 1 billion students in the school ecosystem, education ecosystem. And she also made a mention in the last webinar that approximately 670 million are not having the desired meaningful education, what would make them to contribute to the humanity in future.
Yes.
Coming further, she also made a mention that as per the stats available and the studies available, 69 million teachers would be required world over by 2030. Nowadays, we are also talking about sustainable development goals, and we are talking about other areas. Something very interesting, the last node which ma'am left last time was that there are approximately 200 areas of personal development.
Yes.
That's what when she told. And she told that micro learning modules and a couple of other things, what she was. That is when we were wrapping up and we didn't have much of time to do justice.
Yes, sir.
Nowadays, when we hear people say your personality, your communication skills, your cognitive skills, your analytical skills, your logical skills, and at the same time, when we take into consideration your soft skills and your life skills, they are very important.
Yes, sir.
So when we focus on 200 areas of personal development, let's, ma'am, recapitulate something from there, and we take on and we think something about your micro learning modules also, and we take on the journey forward. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, join me in extending a very warm welcome to Dr. PRIYA VISWESWARAN, ma'am. She's the eminent wellness expert, health expert. She had been talking about, the reverse kidney failure process also, how the people can rectify. She also touched a very special one of the webinars where Army Medical Corps of India and our NRIs, brothers and sisters across the globe, they all can discuss, they all can plan, they can think about it, how to work together, joint research, joint innovation, and maybe some of the non-resident Indians, those are in a position, they can provide some equipment, instruments, other technical know-how to the armed forces, Army Medical Corps as well in India. That was also we wrapped up earlier. So let's talk about 200 areas of personal development, ma'am. What exactly we were talking last time?
Okay. So I think I'd mentioned about 200 areas of personal development and 30 to 40 areas of subject matter before. Well, I'm talking about the United States, but this is going to come to India without any doubt, because you'll find that the reason why people prefer to outsource to a country like China for manufacturing is they don't want to deal with the labor practices, the labor law, the labor unions, trade unions that are protecting the workers, that have very difficult rules for employers to work with. And in general, if you look at the history of humanity and mankind, it is those few people who create jobs, the entrepreneurs, who are the sort of the leaders in society. They are the ones who are carrying the weight of a lot of sub-aware people who function in a reactive way, who lack self-awareness, but also they are coming up. They are not beneath anybody. They are needing to be taught. So if our parents are living in the past, then what can they teach our children? Not much. They can teach history. They can teach how it should have been, how it could have been. But can they teach how it will be? Can they teach what needs to be done to be, to be in a growth orientation and to be in a leadership orientation? These are very difficult sort of changes to make. And the main thing I would like to say is that in order for our education to be effective, and for this I've mentioned before, as my mentor, Ms. John Asraf, has said many times, we require a future orientation. And the future is oriented towards employers hiring machines for jobs where it is very difficult to handle manpower and handle their requirements. And a lot of these jobs initially will be the lower level jobs. They will be jobs that do not necessarily require a high level of education. I will give you an example, Dr. Gulshan Sharma ji. I will give you an example, Major. In about 50 years ago, or even you could say 40 years ago, there were secretaries who did all the typing and who would take shorthand and who would do the schedule for the person. Every morning, they're supposed to print out the schedule and keep it ready on the table. I've seen my professors and top, and I mean, today it's still happening in some parts of the world, but in the US, even at the highest level, their executive administrative assistants have MBAs. They are not the secretaries of the past. So at the highest level, they may have 3 executive administrative assistants. Each one will have an MBA or a PhD or some sort of advanced degree. And these people have quite a large set of skills that they bring to the table, so that the chief executive officer can, they can do fantastic PowerPoint presentations. They can show statistical significances. They can show population studies, epidemiology. I mean, I'm talking about a medical type job, but you can look at the equivalent of this in business and those kinds of things. So these secretarial jobs are being done by the executives themselves. So they make their own schedules. Only they have the full schedule access. And there is software that has taken the place of what these secretaries would do. There is software that will take dictation and it will immediately type as you're talking. There is software that will correct what is typed. And there is software that will put it in presentations, that will change videos according to how you want it. It will make people say things, famous people say things that they never said. There is software that can do that. You just have to give them certain video poses of these people, maybe 3 or 4, then it will make it appear as if they gave a speech that they never gave. There is existing video software like that. So what I'm trying to say is, many of these jobs that don't require a huge level of skill set have gone away, and they've been taken up by machines. And the onus of doing this on us is falling increasingly upon us. So when I talk about 200 personal development skills, it's all these skills. So everything that you counted on your secretary to do, now you have to know those particular software things to do. You have to know how to manage yourself. I have to know how to manage myself. I have to know how to manage my time. I have to know how to manage my priorities. I have to understand what my core deep values are. I have to know who my soul is on the innermost, deepest most level. And I have to know what I was born for, the purpose of my life. I have to understand how to get to the purpose of my life, how to play the game, how to be accepted into this sort of gelatinous mass of the people who have and do things. I call it the octopus, the Western Hemisphere octopus. It has many eyes and many tentacles. And in order to join this octopus, you have to have that certain core skill set. So it is about how we talk. It is about how we present ourselves. It is about how we conduct ourselves in team meetings. It is how we think, how we must think in order to be successful at what we do. How we must define our goals and our mission and our purpose in life as something that benefits others, because that is how it comes back to us. And then how to convert our ideas into, how to execute our ideas into action steps, how to break it down from big goals into rocks, into pebbles, into grains, and how to then fill up the pot with the rocks first, then the pebbles, then the gravel, then the water. That is so we can get everything done. How do we manage family? How do we get married and raise a family while doing all this at work? How do we bring out the best in ourselves on days that our mood is down or we feel dejected? How do we get our mood levels up? How do we handle rejection, whether it's in personal life or in professional life? How do we continue to grow and develop ourselves throughout our lives in whatever fields that we choose to? How do we inculcate self-love? And how do we care for others and lift others as we are climbing, as my mentor says? These are just a few of the 200 skills, personal development skills that we need to have. Now, I don't know if it's 200, but this is not all of it. I think I've listed probably about 40 or 15. This is what I call the inner work. When we get to a certain level of inner work, when we are even aware of 40 or 50 of these skills, then we become part of that Western Hemisphere octopus. That is one body with many eyes and many tentacles, and all the tentacles are working sort of for the greater good, and all the eyes are keeping track of good and bad. You become part of that octopus. Then, as we master these skills, then we climb to the top of that slippery slope. It's possible. Nothing is impossible, but mastering these inner work skills, that takes a little time and practice. How to find the right mentors, how to get the most out of your mentors, how to become the best student of your mentors. We just had Guru Purnima Day. Sun salutations to you, sir, for Guru Purnima Day, for being the Guru of Mother India and of so many diaspora like myself. I salute you. Thank you.
Now, when we
Yes.
take this into consideration, because our basic discussion is going on,
Yes, sir.
how to prepare Indian educators globally acceptable. And when we are talking about these skills, which basically you highlighted and you listed, most of them, they fall into the category of the soft skills, where basically your etiquette, your manners, your gesture, your body language, your personality, your communication, your articulation, your behavior, your positivity. There are a number of factors which we have to take into consideration to make a complete personality out of someone.
So no, I'm talking about the inner work, sir.
Yeah, inner engineering.
What the soft skills are the outer work.
Inner engineering.
This is the inner work.
Okay. So if we are talking about, so there has to be a fine balance between inner and outer.
Absolutely.
When I'm talking about inner, that means first of all, I must know who am I, what am I doing, am I passionate about what I'm doing? If I'm not passionate about what I'm doing, how to find passion, how to prepare myself so that I become passionate towards what I'm doing. Because ultimately our focus is preparing a global pool of educators. But
Yes.
you used very interesting term last time. You told we don't need teachers, we need coach.
Yes. Yes,
If
sir.
I correctly remember,
Absolutely.
you did
Absolutely.
mention that we require, because teacher is giving the knowledge and skill only, but whereas the coach is giving individual attention to
Yes.
see what are the skills which are to be enhanced, and
Yes.
which are the areas which are to be chiseled, polished,
Yes. Yes.
groomed, and then finally the person comes out and shines in
Yes.
the world.
Exactly. Which ones are they great at? What their natural talents are? How they can be encouraged in that? How to get the best out of them? And what they're maybe not naturally good at, which they can be sort of turned away from, or at least told, listen, do you want to pursue this? Because there 80% of the students who are taking this level are doing better than you. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but you have a choice with the awareness and the knowledge what you want to pursue. Some will choose only the difficult path. That's okay. That's also okay. There's some learning in that too. How to learn something that you're not at all good at, that you can teach that at some stage in your life. So yes, sir, I mean, there's the coaching is what adds. I mean, if the 670 million children are getting left behind in our current education system, then what is it that we are missing? Two-thirds of our children are going through school and not having a basic education. We are missing the coaching element. And if we add that, if we have, imagine these 670 million children as they go into early adulthood in their 20s and in their 30s, the responsibility of teaching and training and coaching them falls on the employer. The employer becomes the parent of these young adults, and throughout the adulthood, the job of parenting these adults falls on the employer. Now, parenting up to a certain point, even the most generous employer can do. But beyond a certain point, it's very difficult to do. And this is why the machines are coming in. The machines are taking jobs that in the past human beings could do. And machines are driving the boundaries of knowledge and technology hugely ahead in advance. In my mind, the way I see this is there is no dearth of jobs with machines. What we are lacking is the dearth of coaches to train the population to be able to be on top of these machines and to be on top. Like today's executive administrative assistants, if they have a PhD and an MBA, that's what it requires. What those jobs that needed a basic undergrad degree in the past, those jobs are still there. The jobs have not gone away. It is the extra skilling that is needed in order to get those jobs. And
So
that takes.
so
Mhm.
basically, there is a mismatch which has to be matched, and basically, sometime, ma'am, the question this also comes to mind,
Yes, sir.
that whatever we are learning in education ecosystem and
Yes, sir.
whatever we are imparting, those skills are not even seen and they do not exist by the time the children will pass out from the institutions where they are studying. And when they become future generation, those jobs do not even exist for which we have to prepare them. It means the scope of knowledge combined with the fine tuning of skills have to be done in such a way that the knowledge has to be used with so much of positivity and creativity and innovation that your skills basically turns into competencies, something of that kind.
Yes, definitely. The skills turn into competencies because you take the essence. You look at the meta of the training. That is, you look at what am I actually being taught when I'm taught shorthand? That is fast and rapid listening to writing conversion.
But
So
that's
there is
being
a,
done by software now.
it can be, but the need for human beings to do it has not gone away. See, there is a difference between you doing it and a software doing it. If as a medical student, if a software was taking notes for me in the class, How is that accruing to my knowledge? If I'm taking notes in the anatomy class, my hand is remembering what I'm writing, my eyes and hand are together coordinating, my brain is integrating that knowledge and information. There, I only have to take notes. That skill set has to still be learned. See, this is what I was also sharing with a lot of with the Clinton Foundation, where they invited me to be an ambassador for the Global Clinton Foundation. I declined because I'm really honestly don't have the energy right now to participate in that. I would much rather be doing this, and I will and the other things that I've committed to. But my point here is that, you are addressing global warming, but you've left one of the most important stakeholders off the table, and that is the oil company people. The oil company is what is driving global warming, because burning of fossil fuel is what has released so much of carbon dioxide that it's formed a thick blanket that is absorbing and keeping the heat. But you've left the oil companies, and we're doing electric vehicle, we're doing solar, we're doing all this. Why are we not including them and giving them an opportunity to remain in the race with the corrective measures? So, for example, Dr. Viss told the marine industry there's no need to change the heavy fuel. The International Maritime Industry said you need to cap the sulfur in the fuel at a certain limit so that you're not releasing sulfurous oxides into the atmosphere that bind with water and form sulfuric acid and acid rain. Nowadays, you don't hear so much about acid rain, but in between there for 20, 30, 40 years, acid rain was falling and it was corroding all the metal structures, the chimneys that were draining from factories, the roofs. It was corroding and causing a lot of loss, and it was causing major health problems too, in particularly in ports that were heavily congested with human life, such as in European ports where people live. So many of them live around those ports. Those seas that they have are enclosed by land in all directions with a small outlet. So Dr. Viss said, why not put a scrubber on these ships that will absorb these sulfurous oxides, and the emissions that come out do not have the sulfurous oxide instead of changing the fuel. So the same principle, he's also suggesting putting carbon dioxide scrubbers for the ship fuel to minimize global warming from burning the fuel. If we had suggested that to big oil and kept them on the table, by now global warming could have stopped. My point here is that in the process of upskilling, we should not forget where we came from, and there is no need to be disruptive by eliminating old technologies. Now we have a supply chain problem. We are not getting our manufacturing supplies that we need from China. All the prices, the inflation has gone up so much. Everything, food prices have gone up 300% in the last 2 years of global pandemic here in America. Even region to region, it varies. For example, in Houston, the house prices are if it's $1 here, it is $2.50 in California, just by virtue of something that, there are things. So my point here is that if we had not, see, there is some spiritual impoverishment in the concept of disruption, in that we are leaving behind old technologies, which we cannot afford to. Had we kept big oil involved in this global warming conversation, by now we would have eliminated global warming. Had we kept all of our manufacturing and supply chains intact in the US instead of, destroying them and putting everything in China, now suddenly you have a crunch. You can't manufacture essential drugs. You can't manufacture essential, basic equipment like oxygen masks, whatever ventilators. You can't do anything here. So the lesson here is the model of disruption should change, and all levels of evolution of technology need to be kept alive. You may not sell 20,000 ventilators, but even if you sell 2 in a month, that's okay. You change the model and you make it small, and you have 8 or 10 of these orphan industries that nobody wants to do. Then there will come a time like a pandemic when only China can supply, and China says, sorry, I'm not going to supply. Go do whatever you want. Then you revive those old industries and you say, okay, now from 2 units a month, you are going to manufacture 2,000 units a month, and we're never going back to the other place that said no to us when we needed it. So the point here that I'm making is there is no education that is redundant. But if we are stuck in looking at the past, we are not going to be having a voice in creating the future. So we need to equip ourselves to be the part of the conversation that is occurring at the highest level in the future creation. And I have some very good news also on that front I want to share with you. If we are not part of the conversation in the creation of the future, then we are not being heard. We don't have a seat at the table, and that is not good for us. And for that, we need as many people as possible to be educated in as many personal development areas as possible, as many subjects as possible, and as much expertise as possible. But that doesn't mean we leave everybody else behind who has the traditional education. They also have career routes. Maybe at the age of 50, they realize, oh, they want to learn quantum computing and they want to learn about the crystals that are made in quantum computing. And the entire life they've been teachers.
That's
there
why
is
now
a path for the
that's why now there is a process of continuous learning and lifelong learning.
Lifelong adult learning.
Yes.
Otherwise, and if we continue that, then there is no possibility for machines to sort of because right now it's very real. Yeah, and those jobs are not gone. They are just requiring much higher skill sets and much higher levels of awareness and functioning. Those jobs are not gone. The jobs are not gone. There is place for oil industry at the table in global economy. See, these things I cannot believe somebody like me, like an outsider like me, has to say them. Because, you know, there was a congressman in California state when I was in Houston. He came to visit Houston. And then his people called and said, we would like to meet you. Congressman Scott Peters would like to meet you. I said, oh, okay. I didn't know who this man was. Very, very wealthy man. He lives in La Jolla, California. He's a, what do you call it? Litigation lawyer for the environment, made $100 million something, and very, very happily settled, got elected to Congress. There he's figuring out, can I be president? Who can I connect with? This and that. And wants to have a meeting with me. I thought, okay, he's going to ask for money like most of them do, but it's okay. It's an honor to be asked by a congressman to go meet. Previously when the pandemic started, Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy called me to the Capitol to give him advice on the pandemic. So I'm doing this. It's not something that I don't know. And so I went to the meeting, and then he said, I'm here to give a talk to the Petroleum Club tomorrow. I was like, wow, you're an environmental lawyer, but the Petroleum Club in Houston has called you all the way from California to give a talk. So the first thing I told him was, tell them that if they put scrubbers, because I've learned this from my father who's in the marine industry, tell them if they put carbon dioxide scrubbers on cars, they can continue to make cars that run on gasoline, and that you will encourage and subsidize those cars. Tell them that, so that they'll not stop manufacturing cars that run on gasoline, because tomorrow if Elon Musk, if he just flips to China, then you're left with a technology in a car that you don't have any support for. You will need those gasoline powered cars. Why eliminate that industry? Keep them running and give them subsidies from the government to continue. I mean, if the scrubber is costing $2,000 per car, let the government give the subsidy to keep that industry running. Because only when you have that, when you have some sort of mass extinction event like a pandemic, somebody goes away or goes to another country or whatever, then the old industries will take the place and they will meet the demand and the requirement. And this supply chain, so-called supply chain crunch and crush, and this runaway inflation and this death of an economy, this will not happen if all the old industries were kept alive. It is a fundamental paradigm shift in the spiritual impoverishment that, oh, when a new thing comes, just cut the neck of the old and throw it out like a garbage.
Understood. Well taken. Well taken.
So I told him that, and then immediately he was like, oh, so what is this thing about immortality? What are you doing? I said, I've proven that the kidney is manufacturing trillions of regenerative cells. I said, nobody will publish it. I've sent it to all these papers, to all these journals. And he said, sorry, I'm getting excited a little bit. He said,
Take some
well,
water,
you know,
take some water,
I
ma'am.
will, yeah. Yeah, I will. Thank you. I appreciate that. He said, well, do you know why they're not accepting it? I said, is it because I'm not putting it in a certain format? It's all me. I'm just doing it and I'm sending it to all these journals thinking they'll be so excited and all this stuff. He said, no, it's because it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I'm thinking to myself, why is it unbelievable? Because I'm saying it? Because somebody like me is saying it. If I had a different look, if I was in a man's body with a different white color skin and a stubble or something, wearing a suit and a tie, and I have 10 people saying, yeah, she's right, or he's right, or whatever, then it wouldn't be so unbelievable. See, so there are mountains, each of us has a different mountain to climb, or we have different mountain range to climb. But there
Absolutely.
are some,
There's a beautiful statement you have made a mention, ma'am. And due to the paucity of time, we'll close over here today's session.
Yeah,
And
I had a presentation to give actually, but
next week we can take, but you have left a beautiful sentence. We have different mountains to climb in this life.
Yes,
and
sir.
Each one of us, we are different, and there are different mountains, and let's climb the best possible way with the best possible equipment. And let's see, once we climb, is that climbing really useful and meaningful to society? The presentation, what you wish to focus on, we will take on next week. My deep gratitudes and thanks to you, ma'am, for sparing your most valuable time and joining from California.
My pleasure,
and Dr. Chitra Kapoor, get in touch with you to take the topic for the next week.
Absolutely.
Because keeping my health in mind, I just go little, slow onto the whole process. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm here to help you in whatever way I can, sir, because I'm helping patients every day.
Thank you,
I'm helping a few patients, and there will soon be lots. So I'm here to help you. And it would be my honor and pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Vanakkam, namaskaram.